the Overman Warrior Podcast.
All right, Rich Hoffman here. All these lawyer things that I'm doing, I'll talk about anything. I do love the Supreme Court. When I say love, I have a tie clip that I got at the Supreme Court that I wear every day. I love it, love it, love it, love it. I think the idea of the Supreme Court is a wonderful connection. They don't always vote the way I'd like them to. But this case, this case in Colorado, even liberals saw what it was all about. But when Colorado in 2019 passed a law banning licensed therapists from providing conversion therapy to minors, essentially trying to talk them into some sense on gender switchovers or same-sex lifestyles, and try to explain to kids that have some brain activity that's all over the place. You don't really reach maturity until you're in your 20s as far as brain development, and kids need guidance. That's why we designated 18 years as kind of the period of time it takes for a human being to become an adult, because even at 14, there's 15, 16, there's all kinds of things going on. There's no way a person can make decisions about their whole life at that point. And you have some very, very hostile, anti-human people, the same idiots that tried to destroy fossil fuels, the same idiots that are trying to kill Christianity all over the world, the same idiots that are trying to pit Islam against Christianity, to topple it, destroy it, and burn down churches all over Europe. The same people that are out protesting the kings, that are anti-Trump, that are running around with communist flags, that want drugs pouring over the borders to poison mankind and kill them with drug overdoses. The same kind of people want a free access to children through public schools. They want kids to convert to sexual lifestyles that don't either result in children being made because they have an anti-human agenda. They don't want people getting pregnant and having babies. They want homosexual lifestyles, so nothing happens, no babies are made. And then they want men who could be pregnant a woman. They want them to switch over and change their gender and cut their stuff off. So we got a real serious political agenda that is rooted in evil at a very basic foundation. And that doesn't count really the deal with this case, which basically says it's a free speech deal. If you know of a young person, and that's what the case was when the Colorado passed this 2019 law, Kaylee, I think Childs, came out and said she's a Christian counselor, and she was trying to talk a kid out of doing bad things to themselves at a time when they really needed a parent or somebody to step in and help them out in a tough time. And she was barred from doing that because of this Colorado law. So she sued. She took it all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court heard the case, and an 8-1 ruling on March 31st. They ruled against the Colorado law and said that these counselors can talk to these kids and give them a different point of view. Free speech works both ways. You can't just say they have a free speech right to say they want to become transgender, or that they want to become gay, or they want to do something that would probably they'll regret the rest of their life. They have a right to do that. And then you have the whole under 18 thing, and do they really have rights without their parents knowing about it? That's a whole thing on its own. But so say you rule in favor of they have a free speech right to express themselves. Well, people have a free speech right to talk them out of doing something crazy. And you can't bar people from logic, which is exactly what these radical leftists that have taken over Colorado and passed this law to begin with and have tried to advocate this, that's what they were thinking. And the one person that was the one dissenting vote was that Ketanji Brown that Biden put in. Biden wouldn't have been able to put her in if it wasn't for election fraud. And yes, it's a real thing. It's not a conspiracy. might get you banned everywhere talking about it because Google don't want to talk about it, but yeah, it's a thing. It's a real thing. In fact, on the 30th, when this is all coming out, Trump's had to sign an executive order on making it more difficult for mail-in ballots because they saturate and they cause election fraud by saturating the mail-in ballot process. It's crooked as could be. And Trump just signed an executive order trying to make that more difficult so you can have more honest elections. So it's a real problem. And the same people that are out there saying, they can express themselves any way they want, but you're not allowed to talk them out of it. And you're not allowed to tell their parents. Their parents don't want to have to know about it. They exist as their own entities, and they're trying to destroy the parental role. And they're trying to get these kids before they can mature so they can corrupt them early. And they're trying to do it for the basic essence of spreading evil. And it's the only way you can define it. Because it is not for the child's best interest. Sexual lifestyles and emphasis on it is not for any human being's best interest. And for the Democrats and these progressives to make such a big deal out of sexual lifestyles, the perversion of it at every level they could. And you saw in the Biden administration when you had people having sex in these public buildings and then advertising. It was all part of the desecration process. And it's also why you have the No Kings movement and these judges trying to destroy Trump building the big, beautiful ballroom. It's all part of the desecration of lofty spirit of being an American, a free American. And this whole intention was with Colorado was to win a few cases, create a law that allowed children to essentially destroy themselves with sexual consumption and altering their physical bodies in ways they can never recover from, and to destroy them at a very vulnerable age where their parents wouldn't be able to protect them because the law gives the kids that separation. And it's wrong in every way you could possibly measure wrong. And then the effort then to push away professional counselors who would like to create a whisper in the ear saying, do you really want to chop your stuff off? You have your whole life in front of you. Do you really want to do this at this time because you're influenced by a song or a video or a movement or somebody in your life that's got some screws loose? Do you really want to make mistakes that are going to last a lifetime? Maybe you shouldn't do it. And Colorado passed a law trying to ban that. And it reminds me of, and I always go back to the first energy case in Ohio, when people talk about the 2 nuclear power plants that Republicans got involved in trying to save, when Democrat policies were trying to close them down. They had no subsidies. All the government money was going to renewables, such as wind and solar. And these beautiful nuclear power plants in Ohio, northern Ohio, that is the future of good, strong, clean energy. They were trying to shut them down. They were trying to regulate them out of existence. And that same playbook is in play here in Colorado. You have these laws created to try and destroy a moral foundation. In the case of nuclear power plants, great energy, great power. Democrats try to say it's unsafe, it's scary. You got to go to wind and solar. And if those can't get it for you, then you got to wait on the sun to come out to give you some power so you can charge your cell phone. That was their offering. And it's the same kind of reckless stuff that they're doing with this Supreme Court case. So thank goodness the Supreme Court, even liberals, sided with logic here. A1 ruling that favored Kaylee Chiles, the Christian counselor. I hope I say her name right. Childs. Maybe it's Childs. I think it's Kaylee Childs. And the Colorado law was ruled against, and now it gets thrown back to the lower courts where it never should have passed in any degree. But the Supreme Court kicked it back to them and said, get it right, because this is a free speech goes in every way, even on professional counselors. If someone has a right to articulate something, someone has a right to say, maybe you shouldn't. And that's what kids need to hear. And if you're not evil, looking to destroy the human race, which is what the Democrats are clearly trying to do, and why I brought up an energy policy, because you see it clearly with the energy policy. The solar and wind was not good for the human race. And so everybody can agree on that. The world, upper mobility for everybody. The poor get much richer because of power and access to power. In places where they have power, you would think if Democrats truly cared about people, real people, they would support energy, good energy, nuclear energy. But instead, they try to put them out of business. And they try to push everybody onto something that wasn't good for them. And that's the same garbage they're doing with this case out in Colorado. We're trying to take away logic from a discussion and take overly emotional young people, take them away from their parents, take them away from somebody that might mentor them, and send them on a path of destruction for self-destruction, for which they'll never recover. And for that, if it's a public conscious thing where all Democrats think the same way, or whether it's some spirit that climbs into the kind of people that are attracted to the Democrat Party, you can take both cases, but you can't argue the fact that it's evil incarnate at work. And anybody's trying to take away and destroy children in the way these do, because these are the same people that support abortion. These are people who are after death and desecration of the human species. And they are not trying to have upper mobility for any human being, noted by their energy policies. I mean, you take that same kind of destructive behavior and put it in this Colorado law that thankfully there was a Supreme Court to put the brakes on and stop. Thank goodness there's a Supreme Court. Because if left to their own devices, these people are crazy. And another thing, too, to everybody in the Senate, and I know a couple people there that I pay attention to things I say, the filibuster issue and, the majority rules and all that good stuff, if you don't take advantage of it while you have power, these Democrats, these people, if they ever have power where they have a majority again, are going to play to destroy the courts. They almost did it the only reason they didn't do it during Biden's term is because they were afraid Trump was coming back. There was a remote chance that Trump might come back. So they didn't do it because they had to show goodwill to the system. They had to play by the rules because Trump played by the rules. He went into exile. He waited his turn. He ran again. They tried to destroy him so he would never be able to. But just in case he got through, they played by the rules, and they didn't wreck it and try to bust the 60 member threshold and then pack the courts. That's what they're going to be up to the next time they get it. So if you don't take advantage of it now and use your power while you have it, these guys are coming after you. If you play nice, they will destroy you every way they can. And the evidence of that, energy policy for one, in this case they did out in Colorado. If left to their own devices, that's what they're willing to do. And thank God we have a Supreme Court with a majority that leans correctly towards the benefit of morality. And it's a scary case. Wasn't close, but it's a very scary case because it made it to the Supreme Court anyway. That's why you have to have a Supreme Court, and that's why you can't let Democrats pack them in the future so they can water it down and then get all this kind of stuff passed. Because they are out for the destruction of the human race. This isn't just a debate over lunch. This is the debate for the sanctity of being human. When you talk about anti-humans, Democrats are it. And they are out for the evil destruction of all good people. And that's what this ruling was all about. The isolation of children from logical people who might advise them towards logic while their brains are still developing, and to take that away so they'd be vulnerable and they can be destroyed at a ripe young age. It's really as bad as abortion is. And people should be outraged about this. But thank God this ruling went in favor. So I know there's a lot of people that are wondering, because a lot of the publications out there that are upset at the Supreme Court for ruling like this are trying to make it sound like it went the other way. They're trying to spin it. And it's not. It's a clear ruling. It goes against all those evil people in a way that was a logical slapdown that creates case law that they're going to have to abide to in the future. So, good case, and thank goodness the Supreme Court was there to enforce balls and strikes in ways that was critical to the survival of the human race. Anyway, it's Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you ever read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you'll love it. Anyway, have a good day. Thank God there's a Supreme Court. And have a good day.
Thank you for listening.